Also, speaking of scheduling and things,
Yeah.
I am in a wedding on the 30th.
Oh. Did I tell you that I officiated a wedding a couple weeks ago?
No.
Yeah.
Was it a totally star-crossed lovers escaping
Mm.
from two different, like, one's like an angel mob family and one's like
Oh.
a mob family, and
Mm.
you're in like a retro Chicago fantasy
Mm.
setting? Is
Yes,
that
that's exactly what happened. Yep. Yep.
yeah.
I planeswalked to Capenna in order to. No, but they asked me, I think because they wanted it to be kind of nerdy and
Uh-huh.
they didn't really want a religious wedding.
Sure, sure.
I've officiated a couple weddings, but I started to write up like the ceremony and stuff like that, and the bride was like, "No, this needs to be nerdier. I want like magic spells and shit." I'm like, "Well, I could do that too."
Uh-huh.
So the wedding ceremony was sort of framed like D&D adventure. After the very first part of the intro, it goes into like the flavor paragraph that's in a D&D adventure, where I described basically the place that we were at. You find yourself in a windy open meadow surrounded by trees. There's an exit to a mysterious house to the west, and a blah 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 blah. And then to sort of introduce the bride and groom, I said, "Oh, Jill in front of you is a dashing wizard from the new city of York. Blah 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 blah. Chris
Wow.
in front of you is a mermaid from the seas of blah 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 blah." The actual ceremony is like you're assembled in front of like a council of elves who are here to help complete your spell of binding, which will bind your souls to theirs and ensure life and prosperity for all of them. And instead of a Bible, because it wasn't religious, I had a
Uh-huh.
dungeon master's guide.
I was gonna say, probably, yeah, DMG better than, like, here's the comprehensive rules printed out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I didn't have stat blocks, but everything short of that.
Yeah.
So there are vows, right? Like they have vows for each other. And normally you just pick like the bride goes first or whatever. But instead, we rolled initiative. We had a giant D20 and they rolled that, and whoever rolled higher did their vows first.
I'm glad that people are having fun.
They had a great time. Welcome to Beacon of Creation, a weekly podcast on game design through the lens of Magic the Gathering. I'm Tim.
I'm Juliet.
And we're finally getting to the end of our July design challenge review at the end of August here.
Mhm.
We've been kind of blowing these up and spending extra time on these design challenges to kind of feel them out and figure out like what people like and to make sure we're giving plenty of feedback to each submitter. Kind of a focus of the design challenge is not like picking the best card or finding the perfect design. It's more about, hey, let's look at a design as it was submitted. Maybe that was really honed. Maybe it's kind of maybe it's kind of a draft. Whatever it is, we're going to kind of find what the home of that card is, what format it would be good in, what kind of deck, what kind of player would like it. And knowing what this card implies about other cards, knowing what a submission implies about other cards was extra important for this month's challenge.
That's exactly right, because our design challenge was Incarnation Day, design an incarnation that could be part of a cycle. Incarnation, one of these big classic Magic cards that it's a creature, but it feels like more than a creature. And then, okay, what would this new cycle be like? Alongside that, we had a number of optional bonus points. The first being Incarnation, that the card could be printable in something like a Foundations 2 or a Foundations Jumpstart. And then we have 5 bonus points based on potential colors in the card to help indicate what names you should pick from for the kind of noun names of incarnations. And if the card is white, its name should be a regal virtue. Blue, its name should be about ink or octopi. Black, its name deals with the Gnostic separation of mind and body. Red, its name is a cowboy word. Or green, its name deals with flowers. And of course, those bonus points are Incarnation, 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 and Incarnation.
Great. Yeah. So a lot of what we're looking at here are cards that are a little bit unusual. Incarnations are not really like humans or dragons. They kind of open you up to like printing a weird effect on a card and getting away with it. And so a lot of what we're trying to figure out here is like, is that effect kind of novel, kind of cool? Can we imagine there being 4 other cards that can fit in that same family? And then, like, is this kind of cool enough to be an incarnation? Is the ability exciting enough? A lot of what we're looking for here is for that foundations aspect, if we can find it. Not every card went for the bonus points, but if we can find sort of this appeals to a new player, a person reading this card would understand right away why they want to play this card. So we'll keep our eyes out for that. Some of the cards shoot for the bonus points. Some of them just want to give us a cool card, but that's one of the things we're going to keep in mind. All right, our first card for this episode is from Mono White Border, aka Mono Breakfast Border, aka Peter. And he submitted Satiation, 2 and a black for a 2/2. Creature incarnation at rare, so 3 mana 2/2 flyer. And then as long as this card is in your graveyard and you control a swamp, creatures you control have persist. Whew.
That's pretty cool and pretty busted. I mean, if this exists on its own, it's fine and good. And then as soon as it exists with something that enters with a +1/+1 counter, or has Undying, but especially it enters with a +1/+1 counter.
Yeah, let's break that down.
The thing I tend to think of is like first day of class or Grum Goalie combos. But basically, the idea is that -1/-1 counters and +1/+1 counters annihilate each other when they're put on the same card. Persist is a old keyword from Shadowmoor that says when this creature dies, if it didn't have a -1/-1 counter on it, return it to the battlefield with a -1/-1 counter. So it gets kind of 2 lives. The second one is smaller, but you can double up on ETBs and things like that. We've seen like Murderous Redcap and other cards, Kitchen Finks, a classic one, so you can get some life gain, double triggers, or infinite life if you're able to cycle that into a combo. Murderous Redcap, you can just deal infinite damage if you're able to set up that combo. Because if a creature enters with a +1/+1 counter, either due to its own abilities or another creature's effects or anything like that, and it has persist. As soon as it dies, it enters with a -1/-1 counter, then gets a +1/+1 counter. Those erase each other, and suddenly it's a creature that can be persisted again. So if you have a free sack outlet and any of these elements, just having Satiation in your graveyard alone enables all sorts of different combos. And that might actually be fair and fine in sufficiently competitive sort of formats, but it certainly is a aggressively enabled combo sort of setting that this certainly increases the number of like turn 1 combo kills you would get out of that sort of arrangement.
The kind of baseline thing, if you imagine this, maybe not in the combo place, but just like draft or more casual format. Like if a creature just says like, I enter with a +1/+1 counter, remove a counter from me to blah, blah, blah. That creature can now kind of block infinitely, or like if it's destroyed, it'll come back. And that kind of thing is enough to already be kind of powerful. I guess you might not run into anything that's that good with it in a random draft format. Like if you just threw this in a Hobbit deck, if you just threw this in a Lorwyn deck, like you might not have a card that, combos with Satiation and creates what you're talking about. So I guess maybe it's safe there, but once you're able to build around it at all, a lot of things get unlocked. And if you have a relatively large card pool, like you said, there are ways to go like absolutely nuts with this, because this needs to be in your graveyard. You have to control a swamp. So if you have, let's say, like a Blood Crypt or something, the red-black duel from Ravnica, like you could Faithless Looting, dump Satiation into your graveyard, have this online, and then second turn do something to just like combo off and be pretty explosive, I guess. I guess the larger the card pool, the more busted this gets, but also maybe the more likely it is that someone can do something about it. I don't know.
Easy to anticipate that this could be pretty wild in like a Pioneer sort of setting, but I think I would worry about it most in the current sort of large standard, that we have, where the chance of having some type of way to kill your creatures and some creature that enters with a +1/+1 counter in some way is pretty high, and the chance of having the right type of graveyard hate to deal with this, like to deal with the satiate half, and like creature hate to deal with the other half, or graveyard removal, creature removal, that sort of thing, feels less, that the answers are maybe less likely. My question for you here is, like, cycling this out, this certainly fits with like Wonder as a cycle. As long as this card is in your graveyard and you control the matching basic land, creatures you control have keyword. But Persist is, I mean, is Persist that different from Haste? That I don't know.
In terms of where you could put the mechanic, you're thinking?
In terms of like the amount of impact that this card, like, this is a extra playable, whether you're breaking it or just playing it fair, sort of incarnation. And I'm wondering, can we print 4 more of these that
are
like
cool, don't break things?
Yeah, and that have roughly the amount of impact that the Persist one does.
Yeah. So we immediately jumped into the kind of combo ramifications of it. But if I just give my 4/4 Persist and my 3/3 flyer Persist, like, I'm already realizing a lot of power. Maybe that is the part that I didn't really think about. That is where in a draft game, just all my guys coming back once is already enough to put this card way over the top. But I guess what you're sort of asking there is, like, is this a right level of impact to shoot for? Like, if I had 4 other cards, or if I had like 2 other cards because I'm finishing some other cycle, would it be fun to slap a key, one of a couple keywords on a bunch of cards? I got to imagine so. I'd have to look at some lists of keywords to find a good example, but I don't know. This would be exciting. I think this definitely fits as you can imagine the cycle.
Yeah. I guess I'm trying to anticipate what
Yeah.
new keywords, like if we're seeing Persist here, I would be like, okay, what other returning like keywords would we want to see here that would have a similar amount of impact potentially?
Yeah. Maybe I'll start naming keywords and you tell me, is it higher or lower impact than Persist?
Sure.
So what about like Infect?
Ooh, okay. Yeah. As long as this card is in your graveyard and you control a forest, creatures you control have Infect. Great. Yeah. That's a great example.
How about like a Skulk? Skulk is the old like creatures that are bigger than you can't block you.
Yeah. We could see that on white or blue, I think. I think it's definitely less impactful, but very plausible in the same cycle as this. It's a 1 mana 2/1 with that gives everything Skulk if you have a planes or something. Yeah.
I guess, are we okay giving keywords that also have like a parameter, like a Afterlife 1? When this creature dies, create a 1/1 flyer spirit. That would probably be pretty good too.
Yeah. For that, you would almost certainly want to say like non-token creature you control.
That's true.
What if we just make 5 that all go infinite combo style? Like,
let's see, like training or mentor, like that could be pretty fun. Like either when I attack with a bigger creature or when I attack with a smaller creature, buff the other guy. I'm starting to think, like, talking through these, that to me, the commander appeal of this effect is pretty nice as well. This Persist one is obviously like combo-tastic, but even some of these other ones we're talking about, like, this gives me a little more access to an effect. It's kind of hard sometimes for it to be worth paying like 4 mana to give all my creatures some keyword. Like that's like a little too slow, a little too clunky. But if I can just find ways to discard things, loot things away, and then have an ability online, I really like that. I mean, Anger is like a commander classic, the one in your graveyard giving things haste.
Okay, here's my pitch for this is slightly weird in red for how the keyword has shown up in the past, but for the new red one, as long as this card is in your graveyard and you control a mountain, creatures you control have Renown 2.
All right.
And you pair that with Satiation so that you, like, Your creature comes back with a -1/-1 counter. But if it can get in, it clears its counter and gets a +1/+1 buff.
Okay. Yeah, renown is like when a creature hits your opponent, it gets that many counters, but only once. Like it becomes
Mhm.
renowned once it gets that. So yeah. All right. Yeah, that's fun. And your creature's increasing in size once, I think is like a nice, it's an effect that you want and also not a full mega snowball. So that's pretty good too.
Last but not least, so many things to talk about here.
Yeah.
Satiation does deal with the separation. Like, your mind and body can be satiated in two different ways.
Oh.
And not being satiated could be an example of why to come back with a -1/-1 counter. I feel like I have just a bit of a disconnect between the name and the effect, and or the name and the bonus point. It's not quite there, if that makes sense. But I think there's interesting elements of this, and yeah, I just feel like having persist is a little bit more of a, or maybe the idea is, hey, satiation's in your graveyard. You're no longer satiated. Therefore, that's why everything has the hunger to come back. Maybe that's the idea. Our next submission is from Rexer3. It's Chivalry.
Hmm.
Wow. Chivalry is an 8/8 for
Oh.
4 red and a white. That's 6 mana for an 8/8 creature elemental incarnation at rare. You may discard a red card and a white card rather than pay this spell's mana cost.
Mm.
This creature enters with 6 -1/-1 counters on it. So that brings it down to a 2/2. And then it has tap, remove a counter from this creature. Target creature gains double strike until end of turn.
Whoa.
And then a different ability, tap, remove 2 counters from this creature. Create a 2/2 white and red human knight with trample and haste.
Hmm. Before we start to free cast it, we've got a 6 mana 2/2 with a bunch of charge counters on it. As it uses those abilities, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I would say you're generally not going to run out of counters, or if you run out of counters, you're doing great.
Mhm.
I could make 3/2/2s. I can give double strike 6 times or some mixture of those. And then when I've used up this thing, I have a big boy remaining. Um, it's kind of cool and novel, a little techie to have this like creature that starts small, has a couple tap abilities. Normally, a tap ability on a big creature is kind of a no-no, but it's not a tap ability on a big creature. It's a tap ability that helps unlock a big creature almost.
Mhm.
So maybe you have some less of the problem that you'd have than a dragon with a tap ability to shock something. Um, how worth cheating is this? So I have to discard 2 cards. Maybe I discard anger, but I have
Sure.
to discard 2 cards, and then I get this 2/2 into play. If that 2/2 gets killed before I untap, absolute disaster because I'm down 3 cards. Uh, Getting this into play. Once I untap with it, I make a 2/2 every turn. So if it survives for 2 turns, then I probably got my cards back. Yeah, so that's the kind of overall breakdown. Like I'm paying a very risky, all in kind of cost, but in exchange I get like a bunch of effects and then a big boy at the end.
Yeah. It's interesting that it is discard a red and a white card rather than
Oh,
exile, that sort of
exile.
thing. So I'm going to use the word pitch, but it is different from other pitch spells. If I'm pitching 2 cards and then trying to put this out turn 1,
Hmm.
then I have a 2/2 out. And if my opponent doesn't kill that on turn 2, I'm tapping it and removing 2 counters to make a 2/2. So now I have a 4/4 and a 2/2. The 2/2 is available to block, the 4/4 is tapped. On turn 3, then I can attack in with a 2/2 and a 4/4. Oh wait, sorry, the 2/2 I made has trample and haste, so it could also just
Oh.
attack in.
Mhm.
But if I didn't, or if I waited till my opponent's end step or something to actually, tap this and create the creature for any number of reasons, then on turn 3, I can be attacking in with 6 power that I haven't spent any mana on. Like I could be spending my first 2 and/or 3 turns of mana in like land drops on
Mm.
other things,
Hmm.
which is interesting. And you're right that if your opponent removes this, that's quite the tempo, or not tempo less. That's quite
Yeah.
the
Game loser.
long-term
Yeah.
card advantage thing.
Hmm.
But if you're using this to put specific cards into your graveyard for a
Oh,
different graveyard
okay.
combo,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then your opponent has to answer this board presence
Hmm.
where you can keep making 2/2s or have a 4/4 2, like
Hmm.
that you've got this kind of mid-rangey, a threat that I would describe as very like rock-like, despite the fact that it's Boros. It's like a Boros mid-range thing, but
Hmm.
that you're able to spend your mana on other stuff. And suddenly your opponent has to decide, am I going to try to answer the graveyard combo that's being set up or the creatures on the board? And I kind of have to deal with this threat on the board. And you might say, hey, yes, I discarded 2 cards. This chivalry cost me 3 cards total, including the chivalry itself. My
Hmm.
opponent lightning bolts it. Oh no, I discarded 2 cards. But it would also be, I'm setting up my graveyard thing and they just dealt with my board presence, and it's whatever. This would be great if you were able to discard a anger in order to then immediately tap this to
Hmm.
because it would suddenly have haste. Like if you play a mountain, I
Hmm.
suppose. So chivalry and anger
Hmm.
go kind of
Oh.
explosively powerful together.
Yeah, if we get more of these effects in graveyards cards, this chivalry gets even better. It wants not other incarnations of its own cycle, it wants the incarnations of other cycles to combine
Hmm.
with it. That's funny. I mean, this card is open ended enough that you can kind of imagine the framework for the other cards in its own cycle. Because the discard 2 cards, I feel like you'd do that again. You could keep it tighter and say it enters with some number of counters and then has 2 abilities, each of which remove counters. Or you could go looser than that. I think you could go either way and have it be good.
Yeah. And this definitely calls back to me to the hatchling cycle from
Yeah.
Eventide, which is also the enemy colors. Brexer has a note here. This is part of a cycle I've made 3 other cards in so far, which
Hmm.
are red, black, white, green, and blue, black. So a kind of mix of enemy and ally pairs
Okay.
there, I think. They all enter with a number of -1/-1 counters on them. Most are 6, one is 4, and have
Hmm.
abilities that remove either 1 or 2 counters from them.
Oh, okay.
In a way, it's so weird. There's a classic saying, which is that planeswalkers are creatures. Um,
Hmm.
in this case, this is a creature that is quite like a planeswalker, I would say.
Hmm.
And this cycle, I would want to evaluate the way I would evaluate planeswalkers that you
Yeah.
could pay 0 mana to put onto the battlefield.
And maybe like a 2/2. It's not trivial to answer a 2/2, but there are a lot of answers to 2/2s. And maybe planeswalkers in some cases are really hard to answer, and in some cases are quite answerable. Like just I have creatures on the board, they don't, I can kill the planeswalker. So maybe kind of what you're the parallel that you're drawing that makes sense to me is like there are a decent number of answers for a card like this. I have to work relatively hard to make sure that I can protect it or otherwise get my value out of it if I'm especially if I'm cheating it. And planeswalkers are the same way. I need to set up a little bit, get a little bit of a wall up. I need to make sure my opponent doesn't have 2 flyers in play already. All right.
And that your opponent is really strongly incentivized to try to answer it as soon as possible, because the value accrues and the difficulty in killing it as like the loyalty goes up, or in this case
Hmm.
the power and toughness go up. I do like how if you wait to tap it for a creature, if you aren't trying to put that 2/2 creature with haste, this is a scary creature to attack into because
Yeah.
it can block and then give itself double strike,
Hmm.
increasing its power and toughness and giving it double strike, or it can make a token that can
Yeah.
block.
Yeah.
And so that's a fun thing. I think overall this totally looks
Super
like
cool.
cyclable in
Mhm,
different ways.
mhm,
And
mhm.
chivalry totally hits the overlapping intersection of both cowboy sort of ideas and things and regal virtues. These are it interlocks really well.
Mhm.
Great find for that, Rexer.
Yeah, great card. All right, next up from Crypt Rat, we've got Perspective. Reading the names of some of these cards are kind of funny because I just imagine listening to the name of the card and be like, when is the name? What's the other part of the name?
Uh-huh.
No, this is just called Perspective. It's 4 blue blue for a 4/6 flyer. So 6 mana 4/6 flyer. Legendary creature Incarnation. If you would draw a card, look at the top 3 cards of your library instead. Put one of those cards into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. And then it also has Warp for 1 and a blue. Warp is the mechanic from Edge of Eternities where you can kind of cast it for that much cheaper cost, in this case 2 mana, but then it like exiles at end of turn, and then you can cast it for real later from exile. So it's almost like a self adventure. Like I get to do the cheap version that's temporary, and then later I get to cast it for real.
Warp I would also think about in the kind of incarnation context as being like evoke with a self
Hmm.
adventure, if
Okay.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Hmm.
And the other key that makes Warp designs different than Evoke designs is Evoke was really strongly focused on enter and leave the battlefield effects because the stuff went on the stack immediately. Warp sticks around that turn, so it
Yeah.
typically has much, I guess what we think of as like slower effects. It has time to see other things on the battlefield so that you can do when you cast an artifact, or in this case,
Hmm.
if you would draw a card. As a 2 mana 4/6, you're not usually attacking with this unless you have a way to give it haste.
Yeah.
Getting to look at your top 3 cards and do like I mean, this is impulse, right? I think of this as
Sure. Yeah.
impulse. 3 cards, look at one. Or maybe that's anticipate. I always get who knows?
Anticipate. Yeah. It's kind of interesting because that effect, just by like, if you have that effect in play, that is a really premium effect going into the long game because,
Mhm,
being able to pick of your best card out of 3 and put the best rest on the bottom, like that is going to make sure if you need a land, you will get a land. If you need a removal spell, you got a really good, in 2 or 3 turns, you can look at 9 cards. This gives you the ability to find stuff. Your draws are going to be about as smooth as your deck will let your draws be, whatever power level your deck is. As a warp effect, it's a little funny because it's you have to like warp it and then attempt to draw some cards. Like you have to warp and
mhm,
then cast a cantrip, warp and then cast divination, warp and then do something else, which is lower value than all the other warp cards or most of the other warp cards.
mhm. I think especially being a 4/6 mono blue for warp 1 and a blue,
Yeah,
this is really in rough competition with
Quantum Riddler.
arguably the strongest warp card, or certainly like tied for first place, I would say. And Quantum Riddler that's a draw replacement, right? Or as long as you have one or fewer cards in the hand, if you would draw one or more cards, you draw that many cards plus one instead.
Yeah,
That's overall stronger. I mean, card selection, but like just sheer card draw helps with selection.
yeah,
And it has when this creature enters, draw a card. I
yeah.
feel like perspective is missing that element, but it would be quite strong as a card if it had
Yeah.
when this enters, draw a card, because then you're casting anticipate
Yeah.
and drawing this extra perspective card to do
Mm.
later.
Yeah, Quantum Riddler flying 4/6, so exact same stat line. Warp cost exactly the same. Riddler is 5 mana instead of 4 mana, and the Riddler has that crucial when it enters draw a card. So like Riddler is awesome to warp early and then totally reasonable to do later because you still get a card if you manage to empty your hand out, maybe by discarding to all these incarnations. But if you manage to empty your hand out, then you get to double draw for a while, which is also quite powerful.
Yeah. I do think warp for single mana or give this like flash warp
Oh,
so that you could like, hey, I'm gonna spend 2 mana on my upkeep to
yeah.
like warp in perspective ahead of my draw to get me some extra selection. I think those are the type of things that I would want from this to shift it into more intuitive playability. And
Hmm.
it,
Hmm.
this is simpler in some ways than Quantum Riddler,
Yeah.
potentially,
Yeah.
debatably. And so thinking about if this was aiming for like a Foundations sort of thing, I could see
Hmm.
Quantum Riddler, but less dominating, being something that you'd put in a like mono blue rare slot in a
Yeah.
Foundations sort of thing, and or in like a Jumpstart sort of thing.
Hmm.
But I think this would just need a few more tweaks to get there on that kind of front.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to remember is that Foundations read. If I think of like just cards that would hit a new player hard, I think that this clause does not quite do that. It doesn't have to be a simple effect. It just has to be clear why this is a good card, I guess. And yeah, I'm not sure it quite gets to that Foundations level to me. But in the last couple episodes, I've just been rereading the Foundations rares and mythics over and over, and like
Hmm.
the value is really not value in the magic sense, but the purpose of the cards and why you want to play them is super clear on those cards.
Yeah. Crypt Rat has a fun surprise exciting for us here,
Hmm.
which is the text of the ability is the exact text of a card from, is this Betrayers or Saviors? The Betrayers of Kamigawa. Tomorrow, comma, Azami's
Oh
Familiar,
yeah, yeah,
which is 5 and a blue for, it's a 6 mana 1/5 with,
yeah.
if you would draw a card, look at the top 3 cards of your library instead. Put one of those cards into your hand
Mm,
and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. No flying, no warp.
yeah, yeah. I just cast this card a couple weeks ago in a Kamigawa block draft, so I should have recognized it.
Did, was the 1/5 particularly effective there?
Like a 1/5 in Kamigawa block cube is maybe the equivalent of like a 2/9 in modern
Hmm.
draft. Like
Hmm.
it's pretty hard to kill. Um,
Yeah.
and my games did go long, so tomorrow was reasonably good in that format.
Heck yeah.
It is funny how far perspective is power creeped over tomorrow, and
Hmm.
still so far below Quantum Riddler. Gives you a sense of how strong Riddler is.
I think one of the things, as you say, with the Foundation rares or just magic in general these days, compared to, I don't know why my brain is going like Balduvian Shaman, like Ice Age era magic cards. The elements of the card can and should connect and work together in a way that makes sense, and that the reader and player and opponent can all go, great.
Mm,
The thing I'm anticipating from this card is very close to how it actually plays in
mm,
practice.
okay. Cool card, cool attempt. I like reviving an old card. I think it was fun that we like exhausted our discussion and then read the spoiler text because I think it brought a whole fresh perspective to this card.
Yeah. All right. Our next card,
Oh, here we go.
the end of one design challenge submission, marks the beginning of another. And this one is
Mm,
from Xena, recently pneumatic. I'm going to read the card as presented to us in text and then the supporting text here. In text, this is Wisdom. For 5 mana, that's 3 generic, a white, and a black. It's a 4/4 legendary creature Incarnation with flying, lifelink, and creatures cannot die, be exiled, or be sacrificed. And then melds with
mm,
knowledge. These are potentially obfuscated names because Zeta has presented a counter challenge, which is
mm.
Juliet. Juliet must guess what concept slash figure is represented by my card before revealing the spoilered image.
Ah.
So we have here a presentation of wisdom as an idea that, like, that sure, regal virtue, kings should be wise. Yeah. Wisdom, we're dealing with like, clearly this is going to be doing some pun or reference to, like, Gnostic concepts of different
Mm.
things, but maybe a
Mhm.
slightly different dualism than specifically that of the mind and the body. The thing that immediately, actually, Tim, what do you think wisdom and knowledge might be
Uh,
might be ciphered to?
uh-oh. Uh, no clue.
Yeah,
I need your help. Thank goodness it's not the Tim challenge because I would fail instantly.
Tim Sember.
Yeah. Now Xena's gonna do that and I'm doomed. Ah.
I mean, a version of
Um,
this would be like,
I'm
guess
just
what the power toughness will be before you put the spoiler or something like that?
oh, yes, put
Yeah.
me in coach. Yeah, all right.
Is this a 12-3 or a 12-6 or yeah.
Which
Anyways,
reference to a PlayStation RPG is this? And then I'm good.
okay. So my expectation or just like first thought, best thought for wisdom is always going to be Sophia,
Okay. Oh.
like Sophia meaning wisdom as a kind
Oh.
of classical thing, which does show up in Gnosticism and stuff, but isn't like exclusive to or originating from the sort of Gnostic thing. It's just like one of those words. And following that sort of theme melds with knowledge, we could go with gnosis, like Gnosis, but I'm like,
Mm.
that seems in a riddle whose answer is chess. What is the only prohibited word? Chess. You're not going to put gnosis in something that is like that. So instead, I'm going to say that this might be melds with logos, Logos, as in the thing that gives us the ology in all of
Oh.
the science words that end in,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
paleontology.
Paleontology. Yep. Everyone's favorite ology.
Yeah. I mean, there are better and worse ologies, I think.
Yeah. Mm.
And there are some that we won't mention here. But
Ology ranking incoming.
well, there's one that has a tendency to
Mm.
sue, is what I would
Okay.
say. Wink. Uh, this can be cut or not. But logos, I think, to me also brings up, besides all of the scientific, like logos as method and route or avenue towards capability of learning, the capability of knowledge. And so it's used for knowledge. It's also used sometimes in the sense of the word, as in the beginning there was the word, and the word was God, and the word was with God. Is in the beginning there was the logos, and the logos was God, and the logos
Mm.
was with God. That this is, there is a method or capability of furthering knowledge or instruction, logos. There is a understanding of things beyond things, Sophia. You might even think about these as predecessors to the kind of wisdom versus intelligence split in a D&D or
There you go.
modern role-playing game, that like,
All right, we're back
okay,
in my
why,
domain now. Thank goodness.
yeah, yeah, why are wisdom and intelligence like different from each other and both main stats? Well, this could be part of the reason. There is the understanding and there is the capability and the avenue towards learning more. And that those are kind of, the druid with wisdom and the wizard who's going to be learning more with the books. So let's find out, and then let's jump to the mechanics of the card.
Mm.
Okay. Okay. I don't feel I did set this up pretty well, I think. The
Mm.
card as presented to us here is Sophia,
Oh.
Syzygy of Wisdom. For 3 white and a black, it's a legendary creature, God Incarnation, mythic for 4, flying lifelink creatures cannot die, be exiled, or be sacrificed. And it melds with Jesus, Syzygy of Knowledge. And I
Oh,
will say here,
knowledge.
I set up logos pretty well here by also reciting what is it, John 1:1.
Oh.
In the beginning, there was the Logos, and the Logos was God, and the Logos was with God, which people everywhere in at least like Western Christianity read as, oh, that means Jesus. That
Oh.
that's that word means Jesus. And I'm always like, sure,
Oh.
you're saying Jesus is the Logos, right? And so I did I think I get partial credit for
Sure, yeah. You
for
quoted the
for
Bible,
this.
the
Yeah.
Jesus part of the Bible. Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just impressed by the Sophia thing. I think that you're already one in my mind.
Xena says it's a bit of a stretch because MTG or because Magic the Gathering already has a clear dualism between the material, creatures, and a persistent mind,
Oh,
cards.
hell yeah.
This version of Sophia emphasizes her creation of the demiurge and materiality by trapping creatures in their physical bodies. Presumably, she would free the creatures once she melds, is redeemed by Jesus.
Wow.
Syzygy of knowledge. Of course, syzygies, as we all know, are a thing that you find using an orrery.
Hmm.
Syzygy being the like lining up of things. Typically, we use it to refer to the lining up of celestial bodies like planets. Like when Mars and Jupiter and the Earth are in alignment,
Yeah,
that's
that's
a
what I
syzygy.
thought it meant, yeah. All right, yeah. I really enjoyed the idea here of the dualism between a creature and in terms of rules text, creature and creature card. Something is a creature card if it's off, in a hand, in a library, in a graveyard, and it's a creature when it's on the battlefield. This is something that people have to learn about, like templating and rules and magic pretty often.
Mhm.
And having that be part of your thought process in terms of how to represent, this Gnostic separation thing, I think is pretty inspired.
It is interesting that it isn't creatures can't leave the battlefield, which would be a
Huh.
separate thing. They can be bound, so they
Okay.
can be turned back into cards, but eventually
Ah,
those cards will probably be turned back into creatures. How
okay.
do you feel about flying a lifelink? This creature can't be killed in any of the conventional ways.
Yeah, like Avicini, sort of like indestructible, but even cooler.
Hmm.
Not quite hexproof. You can still get it tapped or whatever, but certainly a groaner and limited.
But it does apply universally across the board.
Okay, yeah. My opponent's creatures also can't die, be exiled, or be sacrificed. I mean, this card, I would be surprised if they felt the need to put this in limited. Um,
Or in foundations.
in foundations, I think this would cross a line because this is a little too hard to melding is a little
It's
too
a
hard to
DFC
adjudicate.
with that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
I'm not quite sure what melding means without a backside. Do the cards just like fuse into one card?
Who could say? Or maybe it just has a backside that we can't see until we.
Oh, until our third eye is open or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like the top half, and so we don't actually know the abilities at all.
Yeah. I mean, could you slam an effect like this in Commander or whatever? Yeah, sure. Jesus is going to give us two other colors, maybe. So we get our four color, nothing dies, everyone has unlimited cards deck. I don't know.
The issue I think I have with this is creatures cannot die, be exiled, or be sacrificed. This is a
Yeah.
flying lifelink creature.
Yeah.
We have seen at some points in Magic's past, I'm going to have a board state where every turn I'm going to play more cards
Hmm.
and attack in, and creatures aren't dying because their toughnesses are greater than their power, and we're going to keep playing things that gain us life. We've got some,
Hmm.
lifelink equipments or enchantments and like creatures that enter the battlefield and drain and stuff. And suddenly life totals are in the hundreds
Hmm.
and board states are spiraling out of control because nothing can leave the boards. Anytime anything is added to the board, it just keeps adding. And then it's like, okay, we've had to double the size of our like play table, and we're now keeping track of,
Yeah.
okay, I'm at 126, you're at 141, and things stop having a sense of like meaning or forward progress or of like who's actually winning. That can sometimes end with like, okay, I guess it's going to be who decks first, like who runs
Hmm.
out of cards in their library first, sort of situation. I'm specifically referring to the like Siege Rhino era of Magic, where that
Yeah,
was.
yeah. This memory looms large. It's come up for you a couple times when we're dealing with
Uh-huh.
these kinds of effects. Yeah,
In part because it's just like until you've seen that, it's similar to like until
yeah,
you've seen a like dominating fog deck. It's like,
yeah.
yeah, what's the
Okay.
problem with a fog deck? That's just like a silly thing people play with. And then it's like, ooh, no, wait, this
Hmm.
is some of the least fun Magic to to play or to play against.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like I can understand that point of view in like a standard environment gone wrong. We could make games last long enough that I slam Sophia. Things can't get removed. I can gain enough life where you can't kill me. I could see how that would be problematic. I guess when I saw like potentially 4 color worth of legends, I started to think of Commander. And I think
Hmm.
Commander games are like dynamic enough that even this rules text is not enough to grind a game to the halt. Like
Gotcha.
maybe yet another reason why this could not exist in the standard set is your siege rhino disaster scenario. And then limited to obviously just the flying lifelinker would be kind of obnoxious. But in Commander, I trust Commander players to be doing things that are even more bonkers than this.
Sure. You know, maybe this would be a great card if you also wanted to have a number of like you win the game, like you lose the game, like
Hmm.
alt win
Yeah.
cons suddenly become
Alt win con deck, 4 color alt win con deck.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Creatures can't die. Um, playing this alongside what is it? Is it near death experience? What's
Hmm.
Bearing Glory is the one I
Yeah.
was thinking of. Uh, everybody else has creatures. Put a copy of Bearing Glory on everybody's battlefield and be like,
Hmm.
okay, can you get down to an empty board?
Yeah, how do I then get rid of my Sophia when I have Baron Glory and I want to get rid of all my permanents when I can't sacrifice them?
Who could say? Who could say?
This is a cool card, this challenge that somehow would have been way too difficult for me, but was somehow just the right difficulty for you. Was also a fun aspect to the card.
Yeah.
Love it.
Thank you for that submission, Xena.
Next up from Larcent, we've got Vacuity, white, white, blue, blue, black, black. So 6 mana, super color locked, 5/5. It has flying and ward, sacrifice 2 lands. 5/5 flyer, very hard to target. When Vacuity enters, exile all non incarnation, non land permanents for as long as Vacuity is on the battlefield. You may play cards exiled with Vacuity and may use any color mana to pay casting costs. When we see weird ward costs, that's implying to me that someone will sometimes want to pay that cost. Like if you
Mhm.
just say like ward 20 life or whatever, that's like not a real thing. But when we see it in fact like this, ward sacrifice 2 lands, I want that to mean that someone would want to do that. And why would they want to do that? And this card maybe answers that.
Yeah. Vacuity, just briefly suggesting, basically means emptiness.
Oh, like a vacuum. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. White, white, blue, blue, black, black is reasonable to cycle. That's a, you know,
Yeah. Mhm.
a central mana short of a ultimatum.
Yeah. Mhm.
Having that non-incarnation clause to me goes play this with a bunch of other incarnations question mark as
Mm.
your I'm going to destroy everything except here's
Yeah.
my 4 incarnation that is going to stay on the battlefield and now have a route directly to a face.
Yeah. So the main effect here, to kind of reiterate, is when this enters, whether you want to call it Banisher Priest, Oblivion Ring, Fiend Hunter, you're going to
Mhm.
slurp up all the permanents under Vacuity. And then when Vacuity dies or leaves the battlefield, they're going to come back. Or I guess Hostage Taker is another example. I'm going to grab all these permanents. If you want them back, you have to get rid of me. How do you get rid of me? Well, you could target me. You have to sacrifice 2 lands. If I'm the opponent, I got 7 cards under there. Sure, I'll sack 2 lands in order to get my 7 permanents back. That sounds like a reasonable deal. And then you have additional pressure as the opponent with this, or additional incentive to sacrifice 2 lands, I guess. In that if you allow Vacuity to hold on to those permanents, the owner of Vacuity can start casting the cards out from under Vacuity for themselves. So if I don't give up my 2 lands now, well, my opponent will get to play 2 or 3 or 4 of my cards. I kind of just have to bite the bullet and try to find a way to get rid of this card.
To that end, I might even consider playing this like with 7 mana available instead, or 8 mana available, or something in that sort of
Just
space.
completely devastate my opponent by slamming this, having a counter spell up, so that when they sack their 2 lands, I just counter their removal spell.
Oh, that's even meaner. I was just thinking about vacuity and then immediately play one of the cards that you've exiled. It does also represent in a real way, like, hey, this came in and everything's kind of in a vacuum. Everything is in an absence state. It's in exile, and nature abhors it, which is why you sacrifice 2 lands in order to get rid of it. It's also a flying 5/5 while this other stuff is going on, which if you just need to wipe the board and you can attack once before your opponent, like, okay, you spent a card, 2 lands, and lost 5 life or anything like that, and that just got you back to neutral. Maybe you have more tokens and I'm wiping tokens. Maybe I've stuff that I can kind of reset using this. I wonder if there's something that you could do with subtracting Incarnation from, or like giving a non-Incarnation vacuities text in some way, so you can do some.
Could you say that again? A non-Incarnation.
Yeah, like if you could make a creature with vacuities text that isn't an Incarnation, then it could like exile itself and potentially. I'm thinking of. I want to say the card is
combo.
Yeah, World Gorger Dragon sort of stuff. Yeah, maybe
so
that's
it continually like blows up everything and renews those things. Blows up everything, brings them back. Blows up everything, brings them back, and then you have some way to take advantage of that.
Yeah. That might not be a necessary thing to do here. That might be looking too hard to find. Do I have an effect that says like conspiracy or one of the other ones that just like creatures don't have creature types? Yeah.
It's a super weird casting cost, which I think is meant to be like a really sort of strict limiter on the usability of this card. And I think after adding that really strict upfront thing, Larson said, let's make it super strong. The applications, the power level of this card are quite high to go along with that high ward cost, high casting cost.
Yeah. Larson's just possibly a Gnostic term. Sure. And I'll give you the blue. I don't think vacuity is a regal virtue. I think, unless, a total state of emptiness or a vacuum is not the worst thing to have in a throne.
Okay.
But it's not something that we typically think of as a regal virtue particularly.
All right. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to design a card that's this heavy hitting and still feels like it's a plausible card. So, thumbs up for that.
Our next submission is from James Dalton Bell. It's smart. It's a 2 mana 2/2 for just blue. It's a common creature, human incarnation.
All right.
Yeah. With flash, and when this creature enters, counter target spell unless its owner pays 1.
Oh. Okay. So this is like a little fairy jumping in, except it's a human. First glance, just in a curve out situation, whether I go first or second, on turn 2 I pass, and then if my opponent's turn 2 and they try to play a 2-drop, zap it. If they try to play a 3-drop on turn 3, zap that. The only way they survive is if it's their turn 3 and they only have a 2-drop to play, in which case I'm outsmarted. But yeah, this messes up early games in limited quite successfully.
Yeah. This makes me feel like next level blue, previous level blue, like make this a wizard so we could like Riptide Laboratory,
There you go.
It's I'm going to jump directly into James's comment here, which is
Okay.
I once again focused on what a common could look like for this month's challenge. Designed a full cycle,
Mm.
and then we can look at take a look at some of the cycles to compare. But I think this is a fun self bonus point or like self
Oh,
challenge of hey, what do some of these bigger swing design challenges look like if you were tasked with hey, make an incarnation at common?
hmm.
While in a vacuum, I would make this card, I don't know, like a fairy or a wizard or something. Sure. Yeah, this is incarnation-esque. The human part is honestly the one that makes me go like, huh, wonder what that would kind of particularly look like. James has submitted here both the handwritten like page notes of coming up with this
Oh,
cycle and a set of 5 renders
wow.
of all using, I believe, the same like segments of the same piece of artwork of like school children in like a one-room
Okay.
schoolhouse. We have nice, smart, mean, mad, and strong, all
Mm.
as 2 mana cards that are just double pip of white, blue,
Mm.
black, red, green, respectively. Yeah.
Yeah. There are a couple bigger creatures. Like there's like a couple blue green guys that like when it enters counter target spell. Mystic Snake was one of them. And I was trying to
Mhm.
think if we ever had like a 4 spike like this counter unless you pay 1. And I had a hard time finding it at first because it's not an enters ability. It's a cast ability on Hope Ender Coatl from Modern Horizons, which is a 3 mana 2/2 flyer. That's a little Eldrazi snake. And it has flash. When you cast it, counter target spell an opponent controls unless they pay 1. So maybe what we're saying is like, hey, we can get this uncommon down to common by taking off the flying, making the casting costs a little more restrictive. Um, yeah, I could see getting this down to common.
Yeah. I think also a lot of people, when they first see or try to remember or play Spell Stutter Sprite, they think of it as something like this, a like a tax, like a mana tithe sort of thing based on number of fairies, but it actually just straight up counters mana value X or less, where X is
Mm.
the number of fairies you control. I would think about a similar 2 mana blue flash creature that is played to do tempo plays like this.
I think Spell Stutter is different in an important way from Smart here
Hmm. Hmm.
because like its ability to mess up turns 2 and 3 is a little bit lower than Smart here. I
Sure.
think I would say
Hmm. Hmm.
like it's a little hard to get that another fairy or another 2 fairies out in time to completely derail a curve. Because it counters a spell with mana value X or less, X the number of fairies. So to hit a 2 mana spell, I need a second fairy.
Right.
Whereas with Smart here, I can blow up turn 2 or turn 3 a lot of the time.
Or delay everyone's casting like by a whole curve.
James is going for a more overall structural thing of like a whole cycle of these, trying to get an
Mhm.
effect down to common, trying to pick a cool effect to common. So all that kind of stuff I think is super successful. Uh, I don't know. I don't know why I'm so focused on this like turn 2 scenario.
Here's a question that I think is fun to ask or think about. When would you play this over just straight up counterspell and vice
Mm.
versa? If
Hmm.
you have the access to or option of blue blue for a 2/2 with flash that
Yeah.
just taxes 1 versus straight up counterspell but no like creature component?
This has some significant upsides, I would say. One of those is that you can blink this.
Sure, sure.
Thinking about it, maybe that's why they made the other card that I found, the Hope Ender Coatl, that like Modern
Mhm,
Horizons card. Maybe that's why they made it an Eldrazi, so that would be a cast effect, so it can't be blinked.
mhm.
Whereas Smart here can be blinked. So if you're in a blink deck, it gives you this onboard thing. It's making everyone play around it and have an extra mana or two whenever they cast a spell, which is quite powerful. The certainty of counterspell is, of course, quite good, though.
Mhm. Great job making the cycle. We're not going to review the whole cycle here, but
Hmm.
it's really fun to see it as far as like developing context for. smart
Yeah.
and why smart is specifically the way. And yeah, I can see a version of this being in like a especially like a jumpstart sort of thing, where
Yeah.
maybe you also have to get your second island in order to be able to catch this, but you can sometimes catch your opponent, but you're probably not going to be getting like a blinking lock on it or anything like
Mm,
that
mm.
in a pseudo limited environment.
Yeah. I guess in terms of the like foundationsiness or the
Hmm.
incarnationness, the flavor is not 100% getting there for me. Like human incarnation, I guess
Yeah.
like human incarnation is like almost like in this case like human stereotype or like human stock character. I am the nice kid. I am the mad kid.
Hmm. If I were to develop a flavor treatment for, and it's like, hey, we want this to be an incarnation for X synergy, and we want it to be a human for Y synergy,
Mm.
or non-synergy because we have like a non-human mechanic, and we don't want it to apply to these. I would say, oh, these are incarnations that have come into being because of human behaviors.
Hmm.
Like, oh, humans are hanging out in this dream place.
Mm.
And because of that, their dreams are, or their habits are becoming things that can walk around in the same way that, like,
Yeah.
giants dreaming kind of makes some of the incarnations on Lorwyn in some ways, but like that's more an ephemeral sort of concept.
Yeah. I think if we leave the foundations behind and we are in a world where humans don't totally exist or we're in some dream world of some memory or whatever,
Hmm.
then I start to get back on board.
Right,
Mayb
right, yeah.
So, yeah. I think I would probably say no to the foundationsiness because I think just like I'm a new player and someone hands me a card that's just mean and it's a picture and it's like a child. It's like, this doesn't make any sense to me.
Hmm.
But I think you are right. In a different environment, that could make more sense.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking this mechanical text, but with a different flavor treatment,
Hmm.
could fit in
Oh,
like a Foundations Jumpstart. And this card with its flavor treatment could exist elsewhere as a
yeah.
cycle. And I'm just like, I don't know that those two contexts perfectly coexist at the same time. And that's also a fine part of design.
Thanks for the card. Second to last here from Kern. This is us after reviewing 25 cards. No, I'm just kidding. This is Burnout, which is a red mana for a 2/1 creature incarnation. So 1 mana 2/1, so kind of cool. It has Vanishing 5. I'll reread the Vanishing reminder text. I appreciate that it's here. This creature enters with 5 time counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove a time counter from it. When the last is removed, sacrifice it. And then it has an ability as well. So it's a 2/1 for 1, which is kind of a thing, but it also has tap, remove a time counter from this creature, add red. I can attack on 4 counters, I can attack on 3 counters, I can attack on 2 counters, and then I die on 1 counter. So I get 3 attacks in, or I can get like 2 mana off of this.
Yeah. Yeah. I just have to say right off the bat that this is one of my favorite types of cards.
Hmm.
Not all submissions have to be appealing to Juliet directly, but I love a 1 mana 2/1 with upside and downside.
Hmm.
A thing I emphasize a lot in Jumpstart design that I
Hmm.
really think that helps a lot of there's a lot of little reasons why that works together to make a good
Okay.
Jumpstart card.
Yeah.
And I think this is a fun like implementation of it where the different parts of it make sense
Mhm.
together. That the upside and the upside of, hey, I can add mana using this, and the downside of this will go away and the choices I make with it can make it go away sooner or more quickly. Yeah, I think I think that works really well for me.
Yeah, I maybe Jumpstart is the home for that kind of thing because then I might have some other cards around it that make sense with it
Hmm.
in like another environment, either regular draft and some normal set, or in Foundation specifically. The amount that this can give you is sometimes quite low, and it's maybe hard to even realize how limited this resource is.
Right.
like vanishing 5 means you get to attack 3 times. Like it's 2 less than, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it's like a little hard to actually get a lot out of a small vanishing creature. And then
Right.
eating those time counters even more. You might play, put this in a draft deck and they'd be like, what did I do? Why did I do this? Uh, but it's surrounded by other cards in a jumpstart pack. I think, yeah, I could believe that home.
I definitely agree that there is some dissonance between seeing the 5 and being like, okay, well, I get to attack 5 times with this. 5 times 2 is 10. That's plenty.
Yeah.
And it really isn't that many because of how just math and different things work. I feel like with haste, this would probably be a little bit too wild,
That's
potentially.
the that's the whole thing with vanishing. It's like, oh, if it
Yeah.
only had haste. Or a lot of the saga creatures from Final Fantasy,
Mhm.
like, oh, if this had haste.
This is why we need anger, you know. A- a- Imagine like Colossal Dreadmaw, but it's like an anger thing where it's just like, yeah, your creatures have haste
Hmm.
from turn 5 onward or something. Like
Mm.
it just is true.
If this is in your graveyard and you control a mountain and you control at least 3 other lands, then creatures you control have haste or whatever. Okay.
I mean, I could really imagine a keyword that would just mean this has haste if it's like after turn 4 or if you
Oh,
control
okay.
4 or more lands.
Hmm.
That is something to put on littler creatures where they go, it's fine
Yeah.
early and better late
Yeah.
than it is early. Like,
Kind of a cousin of Riot. Riot being the like, when I enter, I either get haste or I get an extra counter.
mhm,
I see what you're talking about, where you could say like, the later I come in or the more lands I have, like now I have extra options. Yeah.
mhm. Or I suppose the other thing is something that gives, oh, I want to say it's Flinthoof Boar. There are so
Hmm.
many magic cards.
The like cares about a mountain green
Yes,
creature.
yeah. Flinthoof Boar is 1 and a green for a 2/2. Flinthoof Boar gets +1/+1 as long as you control a mountain, and you can pay red for Flinthoof Boar to gain haste until end of turn. The benefit of spending a single mana to gain haste is you if you play this on turn 2, you can attack on turn 3. If you play this on turn 3, you can attack on turn 3. And so you kind of have this like evening out of the curve depending on when you draw it. You can still attack not early but kind of on the same sort of sequence. Burnout doesn't have any of those things, but you could imagine if space were not an issue, if vanishing was something everybody knew and we just did not ever have to care about, or is like a digital card game and reminder text is not a spatial issue. Giving this also pay red, burnout gains haste until end of turn, then you're like, okay, I can see how
Hmm.
all of these things fit together. Tell me about a cycle with
Hmm.
burnout as one of its members.
Yeah. Because the burnoutiness is because of the way it's structured, right? Like the vanishing, removing even more of it. So if you have like the blue version that has vanishing and can remove time counters from it, I guess you could pick a different like stressor. Like
Hmm.
you could pick like obsession or I don't know what. It feels the strongest in the red one though. Or maybe I'm just too skeptical. Maybe there are 4 other words, 4 other concepts we could find that fit this formula.
Yeah.
Because you can't really remove the vanishing, or else this cycle isn't this cycle. Maybe you could remove the remind a counter from myself, but then you just have plain vanishing cards. I don't know.
And you would never want to actually do this, but
Hmm.
the red card is vanishing. The white card has like cumulative upkeep.
Oh.
And so like you're like ticking down, you're ticking up, and then you have a like put a time counter
Hmm.
on this, so you're increasing the cumulative counter thing, but you're getting an effect out of it. Or some sort of sequencing elements like that.
Hmm.
Maybe you can do like a vanishing plus impending sort of stuff. Red is burnout, black is deadline, and it has
Hmm.
impending. Uh, you know,
Hmm.
I don't know if you could really get 5 different clean things out of that, but maybe.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess part of what I'm respecting is that like this card is like Not too bad complication wise. Like you have to learn the
Mhm.
vanishing timing stuff, but I feel like you can grok that. Hitting that sweet spot with a bunch of other cards feels, well, I mean, maybe possible, but just like a challenge.
Yeah. I think I would love to see this in like is it called Hexhaven?
Oh,
You
there you
know,
go.
or
Sure.
something like that.
Yeah, this is a cool card. This it's doing a lot of different stuff. This is different from what we saw before. I think the incarnationiness is kind of interesting because I feel like this is a good incarnation.
Mhm.
It's not like neighbors with the other incarnations. Like it's pretty far off from the existing pool of those, but it does forge sort of a new bubble there.
Yeah. And if we have smaller creatures that do interesting but temporary things, like
Yeah,
yeah, that is kind of novel space for incarnations to
yeah.
begin with, where instead of I'm going to evoke this and then it will disappear, it's like,
Mhm.
no, I'm going to pay mana for it normally, and then it's going to disappear.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess you could use like instead of incarnation, you could use like spirit or something. And I think the flavor is still pretty strong on this card where you've got
Mhm.
like these like students before you that have passed away that are still like obsessed or unresolved.
Depending on what set you put this in, like this is at the Theros, philosophers
Hmm.
school academy, and
Okay.
this is
Yeah. Hmm.
Eidolon of Burnout for
Yeah.
enchantment, creature spirit.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it just depends on other planes.
Hmm.
That's an incarnation.
Hmm. Hmm.
Thanks for the submission,
Love
and
it.
I love this like art as
Yeah.
a combination with this flavor and the
Wonderful.
mechanics.
Hmm.
Our last submission here is from Mark Confident. It's Embodiment. It's 6 mana for a 6/6. That's 4 generic and a white, 6 mana, 6/6 creature, Archon Incarnation.
Hmm.
Other creatures lose all abilities and
Oh,
can't gain abilities.
all right.
As long as this card is in your graveyard, creatures have base toughness 1 and their toughness can't be greater or less than 1. And
Wow.
then it has evoke for 1 black and a black. So you can pay 4 white and a white for the 6/6 creature that stays
Hmm.
around, or 1 black and a black to put this straight into your graveyard. But it is on the battlefield long enough to remove all abilities
Yeah.
for a moment, which might be enough.
Yeah. If a creature is like a star or something, they lose their
Mhm.
ability for a second. Yeah. I guess the evoke is just like you're allowed to discard me if you want. More so than I'm evoking to get an effect temporarily. It's I'm evoking to get a different effect permanently.
How do you feel about this sort of cross color on the
Yeah.
battlefield versus graveyard sort of approach?
I feel like this is a card that your opponents have to read a couple times, so it's got a little bit of that going on. If I'm putting this in a deck, what am I trying to accomplish? I have creatures with downside abilities that I'm trying to erase, or I'm trying to be like the bird from Bloomborough Maha that like makes everything weak so that I can easily pick off anything I want.
Mhm. Which one is the blue white demiurge from Shadowmoor?
That's your domain.
Yeah, yeah, I'll figure it out. Yes, Godhead of Awe for 5 white blue hybrids, 4
Ah,
4 flying, other creatures are 1/1. Wow. Is that yeah, other creatures are 1/1 is the original printed text. Nowadays, other
mm,
creatures have base power and toughness 1/1. In my
mm.
head, it also removed abilities, but maybe that's the Bolas themed.
Oh yeah, the curse or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, the one of those 2 cards that goes together that you play together that do the things, which for some of our listeners will be saying, "Juliet, that doesn't explain anything." But okay, mana value 7, color is white, T equals curse.
8 maybe, overwhelming splendor.
8, okay. Overwhelming Splendor. Yes, you're right. 8 mana. So this is universal, like Godhead of Awe is.
Hmm.
And I, here's a question that I will
Hmm.
always ask about as long as this card is in your graveyard, because this doesn't have any mana
Yeah, it
requirements.
doesn't have white or black or swamp or plains or control a white permanent or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
So my blue looting deck, if they want access to this, can just loot this card away. Yeah.
right. If I have a blue-red combo deck that wants to mill both players a bunch or mill me a bunch and then Past in Flames,
Hmm.
I can also make all creatures vulnerable to like a deal 1 damage to all creatures and players sort
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
effect to do a board wipe thing,
Hmm.
which that feels creative. You know what I mean? Rather than like
The player doing
broken.
that will be having fun for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Hypothetically, because of how this is done with the mono white top cost and mono black evoke cost, you could do up to 20 cards in this cycle
Ah,
across all 10 color pairs and like which one is up, which one is down. I'm not necessarily saying
yeah.
that Marcus is implying that this is going to be a 20 card cycle,
Yeah, I think 5 would be the guess. Yeah.
but it I don't know that I want like this effect fine. Maybe you can find 5 of these that are fine
Mhm.
and don't like wonder you need to have an island, anger you have to have a mountain. Those are sometimes interesting deck building restrictions.
Mhm.
Do we have 5 of these that actually feel good
Yes.
and make sense?
That are big, feel cool, and are safe
Yeah.
to throw in any graveyard. Yeah.
And don't feel like, oh, I forgot in Jerry's graveyard there's an embodiment, so this combat step should have gone this way, and we need to
Mhm.
like because if it's too safe or like too small of an effect, and therefore not like ruining the game or anything like that,
Yeah. Ooh, yeah, that's true.
we need to keep track of how many of these. And the other answer might be even if we can make 10 of these that are safe,
Hmm.
suddenly in a 4-player draft pod does or 4-player commander play group or something like that, do you have like a bunch of these sitting around graveyards that we have to be paying attention to
Mm.
now?
Yeah. It is kind of annoying because it's like, I just want to be able to design a clean card, but now I have to also have this like land rider. Oh, now it's getting wordier. It's taking the
Uh-huh.
focus away from the cool part.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's part of why like anger, one of those cards is just like, if long preamble, haste, just one word.
Uh-huh.
Whereas this is like, if long preamble, creatures have base power, base toughness 1, and their toughness can't be greater or less than 1.
I think the tweak I would make for the least number of additional cards is as
Yeah.
long as this card and a black card are in your graveyard
Yeah.
or something like that.
And a black card. Yeah. 4 words. Okay. Yeah. You haven't added too much. And it feels thematic. I got to get a
And
black card in my graveyard. That means I put black cards in my deck. Yeah.
mhm.
That actually kind of means like this embodiment itself is not a black card. So now I have a puzzle because if I cast this for the white side, I want it to still do something when it's in the graveyard. So I got to play a couple more black cards. Okay. Yeah. That's a good tweak.
And in your graveyard, you can literally just like put the black card like right above or right below it. So it's like, yeah, here I can change the order of cards in my
Sure.
graveyard. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you feel though about just playing this, evoking this, all other things aside, cycles out of our mind, constructed
Mhm.
implications,
Yeah.
playing this? How do you feel about playing this?
Yeah, I'm trying to come back to that too. I think the Maha effect of like making everything 1 toughness is like a maybe occasionally groan worthy, but is like a reliable, cool, powerful effect, both in draft and in commander. I haven't seen that effect in other formats, so I don't totally know. But that is pretty proven and desirable. I think the other thing of other creatures lose all abilities and can't gain abilities, that I'm a little more skeptical on, or that I have to be sold on. I don't know exactly what deck composition is going to really light that on fire for me, especially since it's 6 mana. So I'm not doing this really to protect myself from an aggro deck or something. I think it kind of needs to be kind of expensive because it's such a warpy ability, but I don't totally know when I want. the white side.
Yeah. Other than just being a 6/6 for 6, sometimes that's a
I'm safe from death touch. I,
yeah,
I have
yeah.
permission to be big. No one's going to fly over me because I took all their flying away. So maybe it is a slam stabilized play in some way.
You could do something with you're bringing this out, and I don't know that this makes sense, but you're playing like the Death Shadow,
Hmm.
Mortality Curse, like those sort of creatures with big minuses, and you say, okay, or maybe you evoke this. No, this isn't warp. If this was warp,
Hmm.
then you could warp this out and then play a moon shadow. But in this
Hmm.
case, you need to embodiment, then moon shadow, or have a death shadow and
Hmm.
then embodiment. And you're like, haha, my 6 mana card made my 1 mana card into a 13/13.
Yeah. Maybe like I think these cases are showing me that this card does have play value on the battlefield. It will help you in a bunch of ways. But in terms of when I put it in a deck, the white side is I'm not ever I can't imagine putting this in like a constructed deck for the white side. I'm putting this in for the black side.
Yeah.
I maybe that is the kind of jumpstart mentality of because that's like we just did an episode a couple weeks ago on Marvel Jumpstart, which I feel like has a
Mhm.
ton of cards that I am not that likely to ever see again, but that made for very fun jumpstart packs. So, and I think that like the white side of this is it is in that zone. Like I slam this, the battlefield changes. My opponent, whatever advantages my opponent had, are probably gone, and this guy can tussle with anything that's on there because nobody has any abilities. So it is fun in that way.
Yeah. Embodiment also reflects I think it's a stretch to call it a regal virtue, but
Yeah.
we do get to see the Gnostic separation of mind and body here.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that makes
I think
sense.
embodiment I can feels regal to me. Maybe maybe not quite as technically, but I
Sure.
like it.
Uh, You know, in the sense that the monarch should, if one existed, should be the embodiment of the
Yes.
hopes and wishes of the
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you want to hear more about that, you can check out the Star Wars Rewrite Relay that
Oh.
the Moonshot Network is doing,
Oh, the
like
promo before the end. I like this. Yeah.
where I talk about Padme Amidala as a kind of mexploitation.
Oh, excellent. I got to
Yeah,
look that up. I found the email, but I didn't listen to it yet. So
yeah.
I'll look forward
The
to it.
second episode just happened and is
Mm.
really really good. So it's really exciting to see where it is. It's getting better and better.
Oh,
That's what's
okay.
nice.
Awesome. Awesome. Picking up speed. Love to hear that. All right, 8 cards. Who comes
Mhm.
out the winner? Who's your favorite? Not winner. Who has your heart? Who are you giving the rose to?
I think I like the counter challenge.
Hmm.
I like a lot of things that were done with various cards submitted here.
Yeah.
I think Chivalry is the one that I'm most
Oh,
interested
okay.
on, like fine tuning or
Mhm.
or building from, or seeing like, hey, if this card is printed as is, okay, we're going to be building with this card. You know what I mean? Like, hey, how safe can this be if you have 5 of these? What is
Mhm.
this gonna look like?
Mhm.
And I think the things that Chivalry is doing, even if it ends up needing to be like fine tuned, some
Mm.
are interesting things, and I think a positive evolution on the style of like a belligerent hatchling and things
Yeah.
of that nature.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of reclaiming a kind of awkward design with potential. Let's look at that again. Let's find a way to make it work, make it cool. That's a good shout out. A lot of tech on the card. Complete enough as is. Makes you think of a ton of other stuff. Yeah. What
Also,
else
I
could you
didn't
want?
didn't mention this earlier. If this was an elemental incarnation printed in like Lower and Eclipsed,
Mm.
and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I've got other stuff, and now I'm gonna plate this creature,
Yeah.
and then I can use those counters more, or
Recharge it.
different
Yeah.
different stuff like that.
That was a big part of Lorwyn Eclipse's Blight theme was like they're almost charge counters. They're like kind of cool to like refill and use over and over.
And Lorwyn gave us elemental incarnations in the first go around.
Yeah, yeah. All right, what's my pick? I think I'm gonna go Xena.
Mhm.
I mean the specific Sophia card is not like the most card I've ever seen, but I think the reverse challenge, I think
Mhm.
was somehow the exact right difficulty for you, which I have to, the dungeon master level on Xena was pretty high, putting their players into a trapped room that they could escape. The insight I really enjoyed was identifying sort of the flavor difference between target creature, and target creature card. Like identifying that as something that has like maybe a whole depth of flavor to it.
Yeah, yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
I'm going to reward that one this week. But as always, plenty of cool cards. Love talking about them. We always, spend all this time talking about it because we love these cards and love these submissions. So we really appreciate it.
The end of one design challenge marks the continual beginnings of
The near
another.
end of another challenge. By the time this comes up, you're going to have like 3 more days. So sorry.
Hey, it's a great day to be alive, and we've seen some great submissions
Oh
already, and
yeah.
I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to a few submissions more for
Hmm.
our August design challenge, which is Overload.
Hmm. Hmm.
Design a card with overload or a similar text or target altering mechanic in the spirit of overload.
Hmm.
We've got 2 optional bonus points. The first is Target Player.
Love it.
The card features the text target player. And the other one is Ogre Load. The card has an ogre or troll theme.
We've been getting plenty of awesome cards for this. I'm loving seeing some ogres show up. I don't know. Uh, Ogres and trolls are cool. The text altering effect is a tough thing to do. This is a real about as finicky as mechanics can get as text altering. So plenty of room to do a good job and plenty of room to hit some potholes, I guess, on the road. So I'm really excited to see to take in all these cards to really start to understand text altering better. Maybe it's not that hard to design a mechanic, but I don't feel equipped for it yet. So I'm looking forward to reviewing all these cards and learning all that myself.
And I think one of the goals here is to keep it relatively simple to understand the multiple modes or the text
Yeah,
altering in the
yeah,
same way that, like, you can read Mizium Mortars and then read Overload and go, "Yeah, okay, yeah. I
okay,
I
yeah.
I remember how this works, and I don't have
Hmm.
to reread it every time
Hmm.
to figure out how it works. That I'm not,
Hmm.
like, taxing both players, in the process of doing a text alteration, which otherwise might be can get pretty wild. But that you aren't strictly limited overload in case you want to put this on a permanent or
Hmm.
do, other things in this sort of space.
Hmm.
And those submissions are going to be due August 29th.
Yep, looking forward to that. Maybe we do so many of these challenge episodes because we just love just making them and
Yeah.
love reviewing these cards and love talking about them. This is like as deep into learning new stuff that I can get at Magic. So I really like it.
Yeah. And I'm excited to see all of the things that people can do with with targeting players. It's an optional
Yeah,
bonus point,
yeah.
but
We're
it's
we're
one
we're
with a
handling the toddler a knife with this one. Like some damage could be done.
uh-huh. But as Andrew Sherman always says, restrictions
Hmm.
breed
Hmm.
creativity.
Hmm. Hmm. All right. So that'll be it for our podcast for the week. Our padmaycast.
Mhm.
Hop
Yeah.
on the Discord, chat with us, submit your cards. We've had just a lot of like conversations going in the main chat lately with different mechanics, different ideas. So always love seeing those topics come up. Anything else you want to tell people about? We got your Star Wars rewrite with Moonshot. Anything besides that?
Yeah, yeah. For now, I'll just say that that is going well. We just had the second one up on Twitch, and the first one is
Hmm.
up on YouTube. They're done
Okay.
live on
Yeah.
Twitch and then
Hmm.
then put on YouTube. And speaking of, Padme cast, we're starting at episode 1 and then going through them. And so
Yeah.
far, Padme's done some pretty the 4 Padmes have done some
Oh.
pretty wild things. If you've
Okay.
ever wondered what would happen if Padme Amidala or one of her like handmaiden bodyguard doubles was Cao Cao from the Romance of the Three Kingdoms.
Oh, okay.
That was a discussion that
Hmm.
uh, we we had recently. Um, we're doing it exquisite corpse style, or as we sometimes call it, exquisite burned corpse in the style of
Oh.
Anakin,
Uh,
where it's a different team coming in and picking up off of the most recent, so it's not the same people.
so do they get to know what the previous one was or something, or no? Like, what do they
Yeah,
get to know?
the current idea is like day of or like 30 minutes before, like brush up, catch the summary, and like we're all doing it in
Mm,
one big document, so you can see the like the pictures and the diagrams and the arrows and where we've
mm,
got our notes in a big Miro board.
mm.
And it's quite fun. We've got a slightly irregular schedule that's basically one episode a week, but on a different night because of trying to do a fun, weird thing. But it is something that I'm looking forward to more of. I think my next one is coming in for episode 4, which is going to be September
Oh,
3rd.
okay.
And that's going to be fun to,
Mhm.
see what Star Wars Episode 4 or like A New
Mm.
Hope, like the original Star Wars looks like when it's the fourth movie, like when
Yeah.
you have
But
the
you have a
prequels
ton of
kind of,
lore. Yeah, yeah.
uh-huh. And so that's going to be an exciting thing for that. And you can find all of that at twitch.tv/Moonshot Network.
Awesome. Well, check that out. And most of all, everyone, thank you so much for participating and listening.
And always remember, if you feel like you don't have enough Sophia, just
Mm.
look for a Logos.